Prayer is the most powerful thing that I know that we have at our disposal. We can pray ourselves out of something. God has given us the opportunity to reach out and talk to Him, spend our time with Him through prayer. This is the one thing that I know that God has given us that our parents have taught us to do or shown us to do or in some kind of way advised us to take advantage of this opportunity. Things that we have to learn on our own. Because there comes a time in your life where you find yourself can't reach mother, can't talk to father. And the only thing you have at your disposal is prayer. To steal away somewhere, to find a corner, or sometimes it's just sit in your car or wherever that place is, and you find yourself with your head down and all you can say is a prayer. An honest prayer. You have to think. I think about the Israel going around this mountain 40 years. You have to think they're passing around this mountain for 40 years. The same mountain for 40 years. You know they have to recognize that that mountain was not changing. The scenery was not changing. They had to recognize that this is the same place. And I thought to myself, 40 years going around the same thing, doing the same thing over and over again for 40 years. You could imagine that somebody had to been praying, somebody had to been fasting, or somebody had to been doing something 40 years around the same thing. Or you have to think that did they just remain the same? You know, you have heard it preached, you have heard it read that, that had to get some of them to change their attitude or some of them to change the way they were. You know, you had to get some of that stuff out of you before you can go forward. But you have to ask yourself too, well, 40 years, going around the same, why you just didn't camp out? Why they just didn't settle down? I mean, you have to recognize that, man, we're going around the same thing over and over again. But nothing changes if you don't move. If you don't move, nothing happens. Even if you're going around the same thing over and over again, you have to keep moving. You have to keep progress going. You have to keep praying. You have to keep hoping, and you have to keep believing that something is going to change. And you have to keep moving. You have to keep praying and keep doing. Because one day this is going to change. One day this situation is not going to be like it is. One day I'm not going to be like this. There's going to be something different that happens. And to keep moving lets me understand that progress is in motion. If I settle down and I set up camp and I don't move no more, that means I have settled for where I'm at. If I settle down and I start to plant here, that means that I'm comfortable where I'm at. But if I keep moving, no matter whether I see the same thing or not, and that's what we do when we pray and we move. We pray and we keep going because we're not settling for going around the mountain. We're saying that we're gonna just keep going until it happens. We're gonna keep going. It might not happen for me, but it might happen for my child. It might not happen for me, but it might happen for my grandchildren. It might not happen for me, you know. And when you read the Bible, you know, you read the generations of how it leading up. Everything is tying up to Jesus. You have stories in the Bible where people have done things where it just didn't make sense. And you go to Isaiah and you read all these prophets that done things for Jesus. I mean, for God. It just amazes me